She trashed our 16-year marriage for a 3-week fling. My wife's betrayal turned my world upside down. It started innocently enough. A random moment that would shatter my entire reality. My young son, bless his heart, innocently handed me his iPad, thinking he needed help with a game. Little did I know, that innocent gesture would expose a secret that would leave me reeling. A betrayal I never saw coming after 16 years of marriage. I wish I could say I was prepared for it. But our life felt good. Sure, our sex life had slowed down. But we were a team when it came to the kids. Then she started her own business. And while it took up her time, we were supportive of each other. That's why when I saw the message on his iPad, I just freaked. I'm talking full-blown. On the floor. Shaking with disbelief freak out. How could this be happening? How could the woman I built a life with, the mother of my children, be cheating on me? Summoning every ounce of strength, I managed to compose myself enough to call her. The question ripped from my throat. Are you cheating on me? Her response, cold and detached, echoed in my ears. Not right now. Again. I sputtered out the word, a venomous whisper. I couldn't believe it. She casually tells me she's coming home. Like this is just another Tuesday. Just like so many of you who've stumbled upon this horrible discovery. Now, in the agonizing aftermath of this revelation, facing the absolute trauma of divorce and separation, I've been trying to make sense of it all. I've thrown myself into picking up the slack, trying to keep things as normal as possible for the kids. I'm preparing everything now, the lunches, the dinners, the laundry, all the things she used to handle on her own. Honestly, if I had paid closer attention a year ago, I would have realized just how much work she put in and how incredibly stressful it must have been. She claims she doesn't want to hurt me more by talking about her feelings. But honestly, it's been weeks since we've had a real conversation about anything of substance. I finally managed to get her to open up a bit this morning. And all I heard was blame. A relentless stream of accusations placing the burden solely on my shoulders. She refuses to accept any responsibility for her choices. For the fact that she's considering ripping our family apart. Divorce. After 16 years. How do you get divorced when you have kids? Those kids love us both so much. They're completely used to having us both around. No matter what. It's unfathomable to me that she'd throw away everything we've built together for someone she's known for 3 weeks. Some guy she believes might be a new soulmate. It's like this guy has shaken her to the point where she believes we've had no happy moments in our life together, despite them knowing absolutely nothing about the foundation of trust we built. Or so I thought. I solemnly regret not taking on more of the household burden. Not being a better partner. What do I do? I still love her without question. And I desperately want our kids to grow up with both their mom and dad. Update, things somehow managed to get even worse. I messed up badly. She kept interrupting me while I was talking to someone. And fueled by a mix of pain and alcohol, I treated her like a child. Even relaying that makes me feel sick to my stomach. It's not who I am. This incident has become something she's hinged on. Even though it's never happened before that night and certainly hasn't happened since. Usually, when we have any kind of discussion, it's just a matter of her telling me what she needs or wants. And then I try my best to take care of it or make a plan. For example, when she mentioned wanting to go to Florida, I got with a woodworking buddy. And we just started planning. Had all of this not happened, the plan would be in place and moving forward. That's pretty typical for how our lives have been. I never threatened her with divorce just to get my way or anything ridiculous. She's always been so focused on everyone else's needs that I just don't remember her ever actually asking me for emotional help. If she had been serious, sat me down, and said something like, I need you, I know for damn sure I would have listened intently and helped in any way I could have. When it came to the affair, she said she wanted to talk to me but was afraid I'd be violent with her. I've never, ever touched her in any such fashion. I'll hit my controller when I get upset at a game. But I have never laid a hand on my wife, not even at her worst. Unfortunately, she seems like she's completely done with me, and nothing I say makes it any better. When I brought up my personal request not to be separated from the kids, I'm sure she believed I was trying to manipulate her into making a decision. But that's truly what I want. I'm very upfront with people. Possibly too much. Last Sunday, she accused me of having manipulated her for years and said she needed out of the house. I spent hours in disbelief that I could be that person. She may very well be right. But over the last few days, I've been the one receiving the manipulation. Also, she's been depressed and never mentioned that could be a possibility to me or any of her friends. Like ever. I may have been too close to our daily lives to see the signs. But someone would have noticed. I've only had close proximity to anxiety. So I have no idea how this is going to work for her. She now plans to keep my youngest during the week to take her to school, while I keep our 4-year-old to take him to school. Currently, I heavily protested splitting the kids. But I got a sob story about having to wake up too early to make that happen. I nearly told her that this is all her fault and to deal with the consequences. But I held my tongue in the interest of not upsetting our situation even further, and escalating to an argument. Thanksgiving was the absolute worst day for me. I had agreed to go over to our mutual friend's house. This is my wife's best friend, Jill, who is married to Bill. Now, to be fair, Jill got upset when I assumed she knew about my wife's other guy, and she berated me. After I apologized to her in person the following day, she said something about being careful so this wouldn't turn into resentment. I was weak and accepted this as necessary. That has changed. So, excuse me if I haven't reached out to them to talk about the situation. I sent Jill a text that said my mom was worried. I was willing to talk to them on Thanksgiving Day, despite it seemingly like a cop-out, as I was sure there would be some downtime. My wife had the kids for Thanksgiving Eve, and they all stayed the night. Not many rooms there either. The high level of discomfort for my 7-year-old's allergies plus asthma wasn't enough for her to bring the kids home for the night. Let them suffer along with you. On Thanksgiving Day, I arrived at around 1 o'clock p.m. Having cleaned up a little. Bill, ever the gentleman, purchased the item. You didn't have to do that. Thank you, I said, paraphrasing here because I was so shocked by this next part. Jill started saying how I'm in the way and how I should stop being here. Needless to say, I was shocked. I sat in my car and took some deep breaths while attempting to find some semblance of logic for my next move. I decided that this was just too much of an uncomfortable situation for everyone involved. And despite how much I wanted to sit with my kids and eat, I had a much greater desire to be out of that house if I was going to continue to be treated similarly. I hate how it would look if I just drove off. I thought better of it. But why? Because it's just not necessary for me to be here today. I love you so much. And I'm sorry. I will see you tonight if you want to come home. Just have mommy call me. Luckily, no one except us adults were inside for that idiotic attack. I left and spent Thanksgiving alone at home. I called my mom to vent about what was for dinner. But I had an inkling that no matter where I went, the rest of the day was going to be too fresh and stressful. I sent Bill a text, apologizing for leaving. He replied that he didn't know either. But I'm no longer comfortable being there. I thanked him for his kind words. That was the last I've heard from them about this situation. I don't expect one. We've hit resentment. Consequential. I feel almost 100% just having them in the house. But I think we're getting better a bit at a time. She moved out after cheating on me. And she gave me a sob story about why she couldn't pick up her eldest from our home in the morning. Well, having gone along with it for this week, my youngest just asked me when is mommy coming home. I said mommy's not coming home. I nearly threw up in my mouth. I feel so horrible telling him. How do I make it easier on him and me too? Sometimes he's okay after I've. Update 3. I know you'll never read this. But here's what I need to say. For someone who allegedly cared deeply about family, you are a terrible communicator. You don't even know that you have issues. Or why they're there. You say you love the kids. And while that may be true, you've presented the worst possible example of how a relationship works to them. You can't even tell your friends what you really did because you're too embarrassed. You gave yourself permission by claiming I was manipulative. For over 14 years, I always showed you love and gave. Even when I was just passing you in the house. And you know it. You went on your first cruise ever with a female friend instead of me. You went to a convention to work. I thought you were happy. There was no room for discussion. I trusted you. Want to know why? Because I thought they were harmless fantasies shared between us. You always thought I'd have been the one to cheat on you. Guess what? I have standards. I made a promise. Strangely, you made the same promise. What a damn cliche. He's got kids from at least one other relationship. So I'm sure he's a winner. Why didn't you just effing talk this out with me instead of acting like a child? You disgust me. And I hope the kids don't have to be exposed to you or your toxic family much longer. Update 4. Today she hired a lawyer. But I was convinced I still wanted to finish counseling and try to make things better. Today she told me our marriage will be no more. She's got zero qualms about what she did to our family. I don't have family around me to help get both kids to school like she does. Yes. But her housing situation is absolute garbage. She is planning on putting both kids in the same room in a bunk bed, instead of what they have here at home. Each has their own room. I applied to have my youngest in daycare after school, as well as set up transportation for him to Sankare. Youngest doesn't even want to go to the friend's house anymore. Kept saying he didn't want to go to school until I told him he didn't have to go to her house. Gee. I wonder what the problem was. What in the world has happened to my life? I don't know what she said to her friends to convince them. But she claimed I've been manipulated when we talked. Which is strange. Because she's been gaslighting me for weeks now. Claiming I've said and done things I just wouldn't say or do. Update 5. I'll give you the short version I got from her lawyer to mine. Along with my rebuttal. I have anger issues. And I have a short temper with our kids' disabilities. Admittedly. But she seems to have endless patience with other kids. Additionally, they claim that I go back for a light but noticeable tap on the forehead to get attention. I haven't touched our oldest like this in at least 2 years. It is true that I did yell at them or get frustrated easily. Though, that's on me and my anxiety. I have a gaming addiction. My personal playtime for the last 8 weeks across all platforms would end up being less than 3 hours per week of solar time. She plays games too. So, I'm not sure where this comes from. Maybe the AP feeding her lines. Categorically false. I would willingly take a polygraph or undergo voluntary forensic research on my communications devices. I never so much as kissed another woman in any way that could be construed as past flirtation. I brought other women to the house and propositioned them for threesomes. Half-truth, we talked about this between us as a possibility and agreed it was a mutual fantasy. When she told me she thought a girl was cute, I no interest. My ex would never feel comfortable. And one of them actually laughed at me when I told her my ex didn't know about the off-limit fantasy. Because we talked about it out loud. They claim I have to stop being flirty in general. Update 6. I have a strong belief that my soon-to-be ex-wife's best friend encourages my extramarital stray by feeding her false narratives for months. Jill is married and also has 2 children. Looking back on our interactions over the last 5 or so years, Jill's is ridiculously manipulative. Is it common for people like this to live vicariously? Is she also planning an exit? Was she just meddling because she could and somehow came to dislike me despite saying she loved us as a family? Admittedly, there has been some occasional flirtation with her that would never go anywhere. I stopped feeling comfortable with it after a while and cut down on these interactions over the last year or so. I have often wondered over the last 2 months if this played a role in her vilification of me. I don't know if they felt rejected or something. She never brought it up to me. The reason I believe Jill is to blame is a reaction. When I asked her about knowledge of my soon-to-be ex-wife's affair, sympathy for being cheated on. Anyone have an experience like this? Update 7. Has anyone here suspected being honey-trapped after your separation by your cheater? I've got some potentially ridiculous suspicions about events that have occurred in the last few months. But I wanted to see if it's just me being paranoid. I don't want to share details. It means she knows this account is mine, when there should be no way for her to piece the 2 things together. I got love bombed. Yes. But not by my soon-to-be ex-wife. It was someone who found me online. This person had an online presence until I decided it was moving way too fast. That person and their online presence disappeared almost completely overnight. A whole blog is just no longer in existence. And the timing seems really weird. But I can't get into details on that. If I had to put a conspiracy to it, it's as if my soon-to-be ex-wife's lover is trying to take advantage of my proclivities in order to get a better deal for the divorce. This isn't pervasive. By the way, I'm not seeing this in my day-to-day life. Just online. Update 8. Apparently, I have control issues. I guess we should try to fix that. Apparently, everything has to be my way. Which is why when you decided to change our entire family's diet every couple of years, I went along with it completely. Or when you wanted to start your own businesses with your parents, I pitched in and helped build the store for 3 months of weekends, and worked in the store for free after a few years. I built your computer and iPad and looked after the kids to enable you to earn your own money. Or when you requested I make you a latte or mocha daily and worked hard to pay attention, to get it just right. Just a little more than the last one. Those instances were all about me because I like my underwear folded instead of tossed in a drawer. It's not even tit for tat. I always felt like a burden despite saying you'd always felt like a burden. And me reassuring you that we would be fine even when you were not working. Even when you requested funds to be transferred to your account. You didn't know how much I made. Except that I told you every single time when I got a raise, and how much I'd be getting total per year and per month. You didn't know how much stock I had accepted. I told you how much it would be worth, when it was vested after 4 years. You didn't know how much was in the Robinhood account. Except I showed it to you to say this is going to be our vacation money in the near future. You never mentioned after you first got with your new lover. So when I finish paying off the debts that I know about. Weird how that works. Apparently. Your mom thinks I'm too strict with the kids and that I've assaulted you and the children. But never said anything to anyone. Random amounts of money have gone missing to get someone else. This is all crap. This is all my fault. Lady. Have you ever been an adult and tried to talk to me about any of this? Don't you think I would have put in that time? Instead, you chose to cheat with a serial cheater who has his own set of kids. Do you ever have a surprise in store? I feel mostly sorry for his kids when you leave him. That's a crappy adulting decision right there. But yeah, all of it is definitely my fault. Please don't let me know how it turns out. Update 9. Just heard from our oldest kid that my ex-wife's version of our divorce is that she feels I took everything from her. This is after she got more than half of our savings. After the split, I purchased her car for her. Everything that she accumulated during our marriage is sat in my garage for over 6 months. Despite me having visitation of our kids 80% of the time. If I could say one thing to her, it would be welcome to the consequences of your own decisions. We've been split for almost 4 years. And she's still blaming me for her decision to cheat. The worst part is hearing it from my kid. Update 10. Like, how ridiculous can you get? To make matters worse, she wants to move herself, the AP, and his 2 kids to another state. But kick the oldest out of the house. She would almost literally never see her biological kids. Top it all off with her AP legally still married to someone else. I don't want my daughter to lose trust in me. The information is important enough that I needed to know. But I can't break the bond when it's still fairly new. My kid needs to know she can trust her adults to look out for her. This situation isn't quite as hot as say verbal or physical abuse. That it requires me to talk to my kid to let her know that I know what's going on. And the situation is dangerous enough that it requires immediate action. But I have to wait for her to tell me directly. Or figure out a way to get her to repeat what her mom has said. It is hard not to give an incomplete conclusion about her mom. There's a lot of discussions that start with that maybe mom's recollection. But here's what I remember. My wife has laid the groundwork that cheating is the worst thing you can do to your person, because of how it affects them. In other instances, she has told her kids how she loves the man she cheated on me with. Too much. Honestly. I think it comes down to the emotional maturity of the kid. Also, I think my oldest already knows. She told me she hated the AP so much that she didn't even speak to him for a full year. She would leave the room when he entered. Her mom had to have a sit-down talk to have her give him a chance. Unfortunately, now that the divorce is finalized, my ex and I have joint conservatorship over medical matters. So we have to agree on a therapist. The therapist she had was way overstepping my boundaries with my daughter and my ex. I mainly wanted her to stop sending personal letters to my daughter while she was away at camp. She had no sway. She shared personal information in those letters that didn't seem appropriate to me, and when I told her I didn't appreciate it and wanted it to stop, she accidentally sent a message to me that was meant for my ex. I am hopeful that it's all bad right now. We'll make some specific alterations to the kid's daughter wants more time with you. When she is with you, she is also wondering if she has gained weight since our divorce. It appears to be so. But it is hard to tell on the computer. She seems more depressed and sad each week. This email happened a couple of weeks after the divorce was finalized. My ex had agreed to everything in the mediation. So, read it. After hearing everything, do you think I handled the situation as best as I could? I'm questioning everything right now. Wondering if there's anything I could have done differently to salvage my marriage. Or at least make this whole ordeal less painful for my kids. I'm open to any and all opinions. Harsh or gentle. Because at this point, I just need to know if I'm completely delusional in thinking I did the right thing by fighting for my family as long as I did. I know I made mistakes. I just hope I can learn from them and move forward without causing any more damage. What are your thoughts?